Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You feel it every day, even if you don't name it. The irritation, the sudden flash of anger, the invisible weight that presses on your chest after a casual comment, a text, a glance. These are not random. These are chains, silent, invisible, yet unyielding. Each word from someone else, every judgment, every perceived slight slides through the cracks of your defenses and lodges in your mind. You think you are reacting to them. You think the world is against you. But the truth is harsher. You are reacting to the shadows inside yourself. Shadows that were carved long before today. Shadows that feed on your unawareness. From the moment you learned to navigate the world, your mind began to adopt subtle scripts. A harsh word from a parent, a friend's betrayal, the social jabs you endured. They didn't just hurt once. They engraved pathways in your psyche. Every slight became a signal to defend, every disapproval a cue to fight back. You live under the illusion that your anger, your frustration, your tension are caused by others, but they are echoes of wounds you carry, hidden yet potent. You are the arena in which your past battles still rage. You are not free because you never realized the opponent is within. Anger is not random. It is the mind's shorthand for unprocessed pain. Jung called it the shadow, the part of yourself that you deny, fear, or refuse to see. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a colleague criticizes your work, when a loved one forgets your birthday, your shadow interprets these as attacks. It is not the offense itself, but the dialogue your inner wounds create that explodes into anger. You are not failing at life. You are failing to recognize the invisible scripts that dictate your responses. Every outburst, every irritation, every restless night is the shadow speaking, saying, "You have ignored me for too long." The consequences are visible if you dare to look. Stress gnaws at your body like a silent predator, leaving you exhausted, irritable, drained. Relationships fray as you respond impulsively to imagined threats. Opportunities slip through your fingers because your mind is consumed with the minor slights of the day. Your energy, the precious life force you were born with, is spent on battles that are not real, against enemies that exist only in the labyrinth of your psyche. You carry invisible chains, yet you reach for freedom outside yourself, looking for peace in the approval of others, in social validation, in fleeting control, but these are mirages. Imagine the casual words of a colleague echoing in your mind long after the meeting ends, replaying with increasing intensity, or the text from a friend that was neutral but feels like a personal attack, turning your evening into tension and sleeplessness. Each moment, each replay binds you tighter. You cannot see the chains, but you feel them, the knot in your stomach, the clench in your jaw, the restless energy that refuses to settle. These are the costs of surrendering your inner sovereignty, the price of allowing your peace to depend on the unstable, unpredictable world around you. It is a painful truth. The world has not taken your peace. You have handed it over, little by little, thought by thought, reaction by reaction. Every anger, every irritation, every sleepless night is proof. And yet, recognition is the first step toward freedom. Awareness alone does not remove the chains, but it begins to show you the lock, the key, and the fact that you have had it all along. You are the master of the storm inside. You are the one who can finally say no to the triggers, no to the invisible puppeteers, no to the silent invasion of your peace. The chains can fall. You can reclaim your center. You can stop surrendering to the illusions of control others seem to have over you. Peace begins when you claim what is yours within. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing themselves. You have spent your life chasing shadows, every like, every smile, every nod from others, feels like a spark of validation, but it is never enough. You run after approval as if it were water in a desert, thirsting for a comfort that can never truly quench your inner hunger. Society has sold you a lie that being accepted, liked, admired, or loved will protect you from the storms of life. And so you bend, you hide, you perform. You adjust your words, your tone, your actions to fit expectations that shift with every person, every mood, every passing moment. You measure your worth by reflections in the eyes of others. Yet those reflections are distorted, fleeting, unreliable. You feel elation when praise arrives and collapse when it doesn't. But this elation is borrowed, temporary, a mirage dancing on the horizon of your psyche. The more you chase it, the more you are left hollow, reacting violently when the illusion dissolves. You begin to see that the world never owes you comfort. The comfort you sought was never real. It was projected, imagined, a shadow of safety you mistook for substance. Even the people who claim to care are not always safe harbors. Toxic patterns often masquerade as care. Well-meaning intentions cloaked in the subtle architecture of human need. A friend criticizes you under the guise of helping, and suddenly your nerves flare. Your chest tightens, your mind races with indignation. Your partner forgets a promise, and your entire day collapses under a weight that is not theirs to bear. Family members voice opinions they think are protective, yet you feel cornered, judged, unseen. The truth is simple yet profound. Anger is rarely about the other person. It is a shadow response, a reflection of unmet emotional needs, a projection of insecurities you never addressed. Even acts of kindness can trigger you if they brush against the raw, unhealed wounds lurking beneath your consciousness. Every interaction is a test, every gesture a mirror. And if you fail to recognize the patterns, you hand over your peace like a ransom for love that was never unconditional. From childhood, your mind learned to interpret the world in scripts that served survival, but now enslave you. You were taught explicitly or implicitly that criticism is attack, silence is rejection, and disapproval is evidence of inadequacy. These scripts, etched deep into your nervous system, hijack every interaction. When a colleague skips your idea in a meeting, when a friend forgets to text back, your inner narrative interprets these moments as assaults on your worth, even when they are mundane or accidental. Your reactions are automatic because they are rehearsed, choreographed by years of unconscious conditioning. The result is a life spent defending against threats that exist only in the architecture of your own mind. Every flash of anger, every pang of jealousy, every sudden hurt is not caused by others. It is the activation of a script that was written before you even knew who you were. Awareness begins here. Noticing these patterns is the first step in reclaiming your emotional sovereignty. Consider the modern world, where social media magnifies these illusions. A single overlooked message, a muted reaction, a casual disagreement online can feel like a personal betrayal, igniting storms that rage inside your head long after the moment has passed. You see friends posting, couples laughing, strangers achieving, and your inner voice whispers that you are not enough, that others hold what you lack. The shadows of approval chase you relentlessly. The more you reach for love and comfort externally, the more you tether yourself to instability. Your peace depends not on the world, but on the scripts you follow. And until you see this, the cycle continues unbroken. Now imagine stepping back from the chase, watching the mirage fade without panic. Observe the patterns without judgment, recognizing that even well-intended care can trigger the shadow. Understand that your reactions are not proof of injustice, but evidence of internal narratives running unchecked. With this awareness, the illusion of control by others begins to crumble. You are no longer a puppet in someone else's story. You are beginning to reclaim the authorship of your inner world. True love and peace start from within, not from the shadows of others. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You have walked through life thinking the world shapes your moods, your reactions, your anger. Every harsh word, every betrayal, every slight that makes your chest tighten feels like proof that others control you. But the truth is darker, quieter, and far more intimate. Your reactions have already been scripted long before you ever entered this room, this conversation, this life. The shadow has been shaping you from childhood, pulling the strings you cannot see, whispering in the depths of your mind, commanding responses you believe are your own. Your earliest experiences planted invisible chains. The disapproval of a parent, the teasing from a sibling, the friend who abandoned you. These wounds were small, seemingly insignificant moments, yet they carved grooves in your psyche. Like puppet strings, they tug at your heart without your knowledge. A colleague interrupts you and your jaw tightens instantly. A partner forgets an anniversary, and anger flares as if they had intended harm. In reality, these are echoes of old injuries, echoes you never healed. They are shadows of fear, rejection, and inadequacy masquerading as present-day threats. You do not see the strings, but you feel the pull. Every flare of frustration, every pang of resentment, every sudden outburst is the ghost of a child, a younger you, reacting to past betrayals, trying to protect itself from invisible dangers. The world has not made you this way. Your wounds have chosen your battles long before you were conscious of them. The hidden self does not announce itself. It is quiet, operating in the background, dictating how you perceive intentions and react to stimuli. Your shadow is not only reactive, it is a silent author of your behavior. You snap at a friend who ignored you, but the shadow interprets their actions as rejection because a long ago caregiver withheld approval. You feel burned by criticism, but the pain is amplified by the inner echo of childhood neglect. Every argument is rehearsed, every discomfort prescripted. You live your life in a maze of unacknowledged shadows, thinking the world is cruel when in truth, your shadow is shaping the narrative, guiding your emotional compass without your permission. It is in these moments you begin to understand the enemy you perceive outside yourself has always lived within. Recognizing this is terrifying, but it is also liberating. Awareness begins with noticing without judgment. You do not need to fight the shadow or eradicate it immediately. Start with observation. Watch your triggers as they rise like dark smoke. Notice the knot in your stomach when a colleague speaks sharply. Recognize the racing thoughts when a loved one disappoints you. See that the anger, the hurt, the resentment, all are signals from the hidden self. This recognition is the first act of individuation. You are no longer a passive vessel being tossed by invisible tides. By seeing the shadow clearly, by acknowledging its presence without blame or fear, you begin to separate your conscious self from the puppeteer within. You realize the patterns, the automatic reactions, the flashes of fury are not proof of the world's hostility, but of unhealed inner landscapes. Consider the modern day, a text left unread, a social media comment misinterpreted, a friend's offhand remark. Your shadow interprets these through old filters, and suddenly your pulse rises, your mind races, your peace fractures. It is not them, it is the projection of ancient wounds onto contemporary events. The world has not acted cruelly, your shadow has interpreted it that way. Understanding this is the key. You no longer blame external circumstances, no longer surrender your peace to what others do or say. You begin to reclaim agency. You begin to see the storm forming inside you as internal, not external. You begin to see the strings, the chains, the shadows that guided you without consent. This is the moment of subtle liberation. Recognition alone does not erase the shadow, but it begins the alchemy of transformation. By naming it, observing it, tracing its origin to old wounds, you take the first step toward mastery. The child within, who has been hurt, acknowledged, and unseen, can finally be witnessed and integrated. You can begin to respond rather than react. You can begin to choose your emotional landscape rather than be driven by scripts written in pain decades ago. Your shadow guides you until you claim it, and you are free. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awaken. You explode. The words slip before thought, sharp as knives, cutting through calm like lightning through a storm. You feel the heat in your chest, your fists clench, your throat tightens, and in the chaos you swear someone else is responsible. The colleague who interrupted you, the friend who misunderstood, the partner who ignored your message, all appear as villains in a narrative that feels painfully real. Yet, as the smoke clears, you notice a quiet, uncomfortable truth. The fury was already inside you. The storm was not summoned by them. It was brewing unseen, a tempest carried from old wounds, old fears, old frustrations. Your mind, your nervous system, your shadow, all conspired to interpret the outside world as hostile. The anger feels justified because it seems to target the world's injustice, but in truth, it is self-generated, a projection of a fragmented, unhealed self. You realize at this moment that you have been both the arsonist and the witness of your inner fire. The identity you thought was solid begins to crumble. Your sense of self, the calm, rational, composed version you present to the world, shatters as the storm within takes control. You see the fragility of your persona, the way it bends and twists to every slight, every comment, every imagined insult. Anger becomes a mirror, reflecting not the intentions of others, but the fractures in your own psyche. Every reaction feels automatic, rehearsed, uncontrollable. You feel like shards of yourself scatter across the floor, pieces of identity you no longer recognize. The roles you play, professional, friend, partner, child, begin to blur as the realization dawns. You are not merely responding to life, you are trapped in a pattern scripted by your unacknowledged shadow. This surrender to the internal tempest dissolves the illusion of mastery, leaving a raw, trembling self exposed. And then comes the silence. After the storm passes, after the outburst subsides, you sit in the wreckage of your own making. The adrenaline fades, leaving a hollow ache. Confusion settles in as you question the authenticity of your reactions. Fear creeps quietly, whispering that you are not in control, that perhaps you are incapable of calm, that perhaps peace is forever elusive. You notice the emptiness, the space where certainty and confidence used to live. Yet in this silence there is also clarity. In the absence of noise, the self that remains can finally observe, can finally witness the patterns that have governed you. The collapse, though terrifying, has opened a doorway. You see that the chaos was never truly external. It was a reflection of your inner disarray, a system calling for recognition and integration. The quiet is not defeat. It is the soil in which understanding and transformation will grow. Imagine sitting in that stillness, listening to the echo of your own mind, tracing the source of each anger, each frustration, each heartbreak. You realize that no one else holds power over your emotions, except as mirrors for the wounds you have not healed. Every flash of rage, every pang of disappointment, every moment of panic is an invitation to confront yourself. The pieces of your identity scattered in the storm are not lost. They are waiting to be collected, understood, and integrated. You have faced the collapse, and in facing it, without blame, without projection, you begin the slow, deliberate work of reconstruction. You start to recognize that stability is internal, that self-mastery is a choice, and that peace is born not from control of others, but from command over the self. You are calm after your own storm, rebuild within, and nothing can shake you. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. You have carried the weight of others' shadows for too long. Every harsh word, every criticism, every glance that felt like judgment, none of it was truly about you. People project their fears, insecurities, and unresolved pain onto the world, and often onto you. That colleague who snapped at you, the friend who betrayed your trust, the partner who withdrew, they were not attacking your worth. They were acting out their own inner storms, and in their projections, you felt the burn. Once you see this clearly, the veil lifts, the weight of imagined offenses begins to dissolve. You begin to understand that their anger, their rejection, their judgments were never personal. They were reflections of their own struggles cast onto the canvas of your life. Every trigger you thought was external was an echo of the internal chaos of someone else, and you were the mirror. Your reactions, however, were not without origin. The shadow within you has been conditioned to interpret these projections as threats, insults, or betrayals. That is why your heart raced when the friend ignored your message, why you seethed when your efforts went unnoticed, why anger flared in the smallest interactions. The first step toward liberation is recognizing that your reactions belong to your shadow, not to the world. The sting you feel is a reflection of your unhealed wounds, a mirror of old fears and rejections. When you see it this way, you no longer take offense personally. You can witness your anger, your frustration, your hurt as signals of inner imbalance, not as judgments from others. The moment you separate self from shadow, you reclaim ownership of your emotions. You stop surrendering your peace to anyone outside your mind. Non-attachment is the key that transforms this insight into freedom. You do not need to change others to regain serenity. The world will always project, miscommunicate, and misbehave, but none of it has power over you unless you surrender it. Imagine releasing the need for approval, recognition, or validation. Picture yourself observing provocations without gripping them, seeing insults as passing clouds and not storms. Peace becomes a deliberate act, born from the center of your being, untouchable by external chaos. In this space, you discover a lightness you have never known. You respond rather than react. You act from choice, not from compulsion. The mirage of personal attack vanishes, leaving clarity and calm. When you finally grasp that it was never love, never hatred, never judgment directed at your true self, you stand free, untethered from projections, sovereign within your own mind. Your peace begins when you stop owning the shadows of others. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. You face the storm inside, the anger, the fear, the impulses that once controlled you. They are not enemies, they are messengers, shadows that have lived in silence too long. To meet them is to enter a dialogue with yourself, to sit in a room of mirrors and face every reflection without flinching. Begin by naming what arises. When irritation sparks at a colleague, when resentment flares at a friend, do not push it away. Ask, what is this really? What is this saying about me? Feel the pulse of the emotion, trace it to its origin in old wounds, and observe without judgment. You are not weak for noticing. You are brave. You are initiating the conversation with the hidden parts of yourself, the parts that have dictated your reactions in stealth. Each flash of anger is a word from your shadow, each pang of fear a sentence, Listen, acknowledge, and let them speak. In doing so, you discover the first truth of empowerment. The key to your peace has always rested in your own hands. The shadows that once controlled you can now be partners in your awakening, guides rather than tyrants, if only you choose to meet them consciously. Past hurts are no longer chains, they are the raw material for mastery. Every trigger that once sent you spiraling is now a tool to map your inner terrain. A friend's criticism that once shattered you can become a mirror, revealing unhealed insecurities and offering a path toward resilience. A colleague's dismissive comment becomes a test of sovereignty, a chance to respond rather than react, to hold your center amid provocation. Picture yourself as a warrior on a chessboard of life. Each past slight, each projected attack, each betrayal once a weapon against you, is now a piece you understand, a move you anticipate, a lesson that strengthens strategy. The past does not dictate your actions, it equips you with insight. The child who once trembled at criticism rose into the adult who observes calmly, who knows when to engage and when to step aside. Each trigger transforms from enemy to teacher, each shadow from saboteur to guide. You reclaim your throne by understanding that the past was never power over you, it was power waiting for you to seize. The final act of transformation is alchemy. Emotional collapse. The storms that once left you hollow and reactive now become crucibles for choice. You pause before the surge of anger, you breathe, center, and respond from conscious awareness. The nervous system that once reacted automatically now waits for your command. You convert fear into focus, irritation into insight, chaos into calm. The shadows within you no longer demand obedience. They offer counsel. You realize that mastery is not absence of emotion. It is the conscious shaping of emotion, the ability to navigate inner storms without being swept away. Life will always present challenges, betrayals, and frustrations, but your sovereignty remains intact. You have met the shadow, embraced it without judgment, and forged it into an instrument of self-mastery. The throne of your mind is no longer threatened by passing winds or transient provocations. Each moment of inner mastery compounds, each choice strengthens your calm, and each encounter with your shadow cements the truth. Freedom is not found in controlling the world, but in commanding yourself. You are the sovereign of your inner kingdom. Your shadow bows to your awareness. Nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their environment, and especially on their children, than the unlived life of the parent. Imagine a life where the storms of daily irritation no longer control you. A world where a colleague's sarcasm, a friend's thoughtless remark, or a partner's negligence glides past without leaving scorch marks on your mind. You sit in the eye of your own internal hurricane. Calm, steady, unshaken, the chaos around you continues. Phones buzz, deadlines loom, conflicts arise, but your center is immovable. Like a fortress built from self-awareness and conscious choice, your mind holds a space untouched by external turbulence. You feel each provocation as a ripple on the surface of a vast lake, never a wave capable of toppling you. Your inner peace is not a dream. It is a reality forged in the quiet practice of observing, acknowledging, and consciously choosing your response. This calm is not passive, it is active mastery. Peace is not granted by circumstances, it is claimed through deliberate, repeated choices. When anger rises, you pause. When fear whispers, you breathe. When irritation strikes, you step back, detach, and respond from awareness rather than reflex. Freedom lives in this space of conscious choice. Each time you refuse to surrender to the habitual pull of your shadow, you reinforce your sovereignty. You are no longer a passenger to old patterns. You are the pilot of your mind, navigating with precision and intention. This is the power of hope realized, that every emotional trigger is an opportunity to exercise your agency and to strengthen the calm within. The path forward is clear, untangible. Practice noticing triggers without attachment. Label emotions as signals, not directives. Breathe before reacting. Remind yourself that responses are optional, that anger is a choice, not an inevitability. Visualize each encounter as a chance to reinforce your inner fortress, each challenge as a rehearsal for mastery. Integrate daily reflection, meditation, or journaling to observe shadows before they dictate behavior. Surround yourself with reminders of personal growth, with people, routines, and environments that encourage non-reactivity rather than provoke it. Over time, these small conscious decisions compound, creating a life where your emotional landscape is stable, resilient, and luminous. You no longer wait for the world to grant you peace. You carry it as an unwavering presence, untouchable, serene, radiant. Peace is not given. It is chosen, moment by moment within yourself.